FPL Differential 11 is a series where I pick a team of 11 lowly owned players who I predict to score the most points for the upcoming game week to assist you in gaining rank over other fantasy managers. There's just 3 rules. The squad must be worth a maximum of 82.5 million. Each player must be owned by less than 10% of FPL managers, and I'm only allowed to pick up to 3 players from a single team. In this special one-off episode, I'll be revealing what I believe to be the best Differential 11 team for the season ahead, with players who are all currently under 10% selected. To begin with in goal, I've gone for who I believe to be the top scoring £5 million goalkeeper in the game come the end of the season, and that's Emi Martinez. Aston Villa kicked off the 22-23 campaign poorly, hovering around the bottom of the table, but shortly after the turn of the year, they had a resurgence under Unai Emery, and by the end of the season they somehow managed to finish in a European spot. What's more is that their defence really tightened up towards the tail end of the season, and just a couple of years ago in FPL, Martinez was also the top point scoring keeper in the game. I personally think he's in store for plenty of save and clean sheet points across the 23-24 campaign. I'm starting off the 3-man defence with Ben Chilwell. Due to an incredibly poor season, Chelsea's defenders have taken a price fall in FPL, including 2 of the main assets fantasy managers are interested in, James and Chilwell. Both the Chelsea wingbacks have rejoined FPL this season priced at 5.5 million, and if Mauricio Pochettino rejuvenates Chelsea and gets them performing like he has done with other sides, the Blues wingbacks could be incredible assets for our teams. Even though both players are capable of taking up very advanced positions on the pitch, I favour Chilwell over James, purely due to a much better injury record, which I think makes him the more reliable pick. A lot of what I said previously about Martinez also applies to Matty Cash, who I think could end up being one of the best 4.5 million defenders in the game. Now that Ashley Young has retired, unless Villa sign another right back, the likelihood is that Cash will nail down that position for the 23-24 season. I've also heard a few people mention that there is a chance Villa play a 3-5-2 system this season, which would make Cash an even more desirable asset. With competition between Dean and Alex Moreno for the left side, and also competition amongst the centre-back spots, Cash could start the campaign being the most nailed assets along Villa's back line along with Emi Martinez. I've chosen Pedro Porro from Tottenham for the final defensive spot in the team. Currently at just 4.4% selected amongst fantasy managers, Pedro Porro could be a great differential for the season ahead. Although there was competition at times for the wing-back positions for Spurs across the last campaign, Porro was given a run of matches towards the end, and he impressed by returning 3 goals and 3 assists. The addition of Maddison to Tottenham is likely to take some set pieces away from Pedro Porro. However, there are plenty of creative players in the Spurs side, so I still think he'll be able to offer us FPL managers plenty of benefit from open play. A long-term injury put Luis Diaz on the sidelines for the whole first half of Liverpool's Premier League season, but after the turn of the year he did manage to get some minutes, starting 11 matches. As soon as Diaz arrived at Liverpool, he quickly became first choice for that left wing position, and so long as he's fit, I expect he'll be favoured to start most games playing there, with Gakpo and Salah taking up the other 2 forward spots. With reinforcements to Liverpool's squad over the transfer window, I expect them to start this season off similarly to how they finished last season, which was very strongly. With obvious picks in Salah and Trent, I expect Diaz to go under the radar in FPL, but I can see him being a dark horse for the season ahead. Although Chelsea had an incredibly poor season last year, I personally think they'll have a much stronger season under Mauricio Pochettino and probably end up challenging for a Champions League spot. Along with the rest of Chelsea's team, Sterling had a poor FPL campaign, finishing on just 101 points, and as a result he's received a sizable price cut from 10 to 7 million. For a player who returned over 200 FPL points 3 seasons in a row, 7 million could be an absolute bargain, especially if he gets regular minutes in the starting 11. With Chelsea reinforcing their attack over the summer, there's every chance that they'll return stronger, and with that Sterling is definitely one to watch. As a Newcastle fan, there were arguably a number of players who could have been our player of the season last year. Trippier, Botman and Joe Linton all played exceptionally throughout, but for me, Bruno Guimaraes was the standout player who really solidified the midfield. With Sandro Tonali joining the Magpies over the summer, I can see him slotting straight into defensive midfield, which should allow Bruno to pick out more key passes playing a more advanced position on the pitch. Although there might be a bit of rotation once Champions League matches come about, I still think Bruno could be a great pick for 6 million, especially as Newcastle scored 68 goals last season, so there's every chance of him contributing more to a similar goals tally this year. As he was the joint Golden Boot winner of the 21-22 season, Son was given a 12 million price tag at the start of FPL last year, and very quickly it became apparent that he wasn't going to deliver anywhere close to what was expected of him. In the end, finishing the 22-23 season with 152 points meant that his price dropped massively to 9 million. Having just appointed a new manager, and also with the addition of James Maddison, Tottenham could become a very strong side this season, particularly in attack, so Son could be a real option for our FPL teams. Whether Kane were to stay at Spurs or leave, I still think Son should be at the very least on our radar once the campaign gets underway. If Brentford fail to sign another forward over the summer transfer window, then I truly think Yoane Wissa will be a fantastic cheap forward for us to have in our FPL teams for the season ahead. With a number of mid-price defenders and midfielders emerging as great options for the start of the campaign, Wissa could be the perfect enabler for us to have when the season kicks off. If there's one thing I've noticed with Wissa, it's that when he plays he tends to score, having netted 7 times in very limited minutes across last season. With Tony banned until January, I feel like this is Wissa's chance to show us what he's capable of doing as Brentford's main man. With Danny Welbeck perhaps not being as agile as he once was, and Evan Ferguson struggling frequently with injury, I think that Brighton's new signing João Pedro could potentially outperform his price tag of 5.5 million in FPL this season. Having signed João Pedro on a 5-year deal for £30 million, I expect De Zerbi will want to utilise him often as either Brighton's main forward or playing just in behind the striker. With the Seagulls being the 4th top scoring Premier League side from last season with 72 goals, I fully expect the Brazilian to get a ton of opportunities in a team that creates plenty of goal scoring chances. Finally, completing the 11 is Cody Gakpo. Although I wouldn't say that Gakpo is a better fantasy option than the likes of Salah and Trent, I still think he offers good value for money at 7.5 million. Gakpo's been reclassified as a forward, which may actually work in our favour with so many midfield options in the game. With Firmino having left Liverpool over the summer, the likelihood is that Gakpo will get even more minutes playing a central role in the front three, and with that I'd hope he'd be able to contribute more in terms of goals and assists. With Liverpool making key signings over the summer, pre-season will really give us an insight into how they're likely to line up when the Premier League gets underway. So that's my differential 11 team for the 23-24 season based on players who are all currently under 10% selected. Do you agree or disagree with my picks? Let me know down below in the comments section. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you again soon.